Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm Vicki Kulikov. I'm with the KC Chamber. I'm the Small Business Director, and I'm excited to see so many of you on this call today. We've been reminiscing a little bit about how, well, I personally haven't been doing a ton of Zoom calls in large quantities, so it's a little bit of deja vu, but it's good to see you all. Feel free to stay on camera or not. It's up to you. This is going to be pretty informal process. I want to go over a little bit of more high level things before we start the panel. I do have Brandon Krekel is here. He's going to help assist with questions when we get to that time and getting you guys your chats answered. So today we are, sorry, I'm getting my brain in gear here. This is an application workshop. I know some of you are new to this. So what this is an actual opportunity for you all to ask questions of our panelists about the Small Business Award applications. You all should have received both the copy of the Small Business of the Year Award as well as the Emerging Small Business of the Year Award. So if you're 3 years or under, you're going to be focusing on the Emerging Small Business Award. So keep that in mind. And if you're over 3 years, it's the Small Business Award. I'm going to back up 1 second and thank all of our small business celebration sponsors. I don't think any of them are here today, but we've got about 15 of them, and we appreciate their support. And of course, I want to thank our panelists who will introduce themselves here in a minute. And so thank you all for being here. The Small Business Celebration is I think we're in our 36th year. It's one of the largest small business celebrations around the country. So we've been doing this for many, many years.
Associate data and guests.
And if you could mute yourself, that would be great. We've been doing this for many, many years. We added on our Small Business Superstars element to the program just the last 3 years. So many of you today are attending as superstars. Actually, you're all small businesses, so you're all superstars. So congratulations to all of you. And just to kind of go through the timeline of the Small Business Celebration, we're in the period of the application timeframe. The application deadline is March 15th, so we're just about 2 weeks away from that. So make sure you're leaving ample time to complete your application. After the application deadline, we kind of move into our Small Business Showcase focus. The Small Business Candidate Showcase will be April 4th from 5:30 to 7:30. So anybody and it's at Union Station. So anybody that has completed a application, and again, you need to be a chamber member to go through this process. Once you've completed the application, then you will be guaranteed a spot at the Candidate Showcase at Union Station in the Grand Hall on April 4th. It's a fantastic event. We probably have about 400 attendees, guests that come through from the business community. So it's a great opportunity to give you and your company some wonderful exposure. And then once we pass through the Candidate Showcase period, then we move into, well, after that, there's a top 10 small businesses that get selected. We have a top 10 past winner on our panel today. And those are the top 10 award winners for the Small Business of the Year Award. So all the other awards, which there are several others besides Emerging, and I can go over those. There's no top 10. That specifically is for the Mr. K Small Business of the Year. And besides the Emerging Small Business of the Year Award, we do have 3 other awards. We have the Small Business Equity Award winner, Small Business Equity Award. That is for folks that are doing, good work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space internally and also externally throughout the community. We also have the Legacy of Kansas City award that is awarded to companies that are 15 years or older. And then we have an international award. So if you're doing any kind of business internationally, I mean, even regardless of kind of what level, if you just do some e-commerce and it's international, you would be qualified. So any of those additional awards that I just named, the application that you fill out will automatically funnel you into that track of questions. So you don't have to fill out another question or another application for those awards. So let's just say, for example, you're a business that's 20 years old and you want to go for the Mr. K Small Business of the Year Award. You fill out that application, and then because of the length of your business, that triggers you into the Legacy of Kansas City questions, which are just a few. So I think that's pretty much it. And then once we get the top 10 announced, which is April 21st through social media channels, then there's about a month or so until the actual awards luncheon. It's the Small Business Awards Luncheon. It will be held at the Marriott Muehlebach downtown. And that is Wednesday, June 14th. Anybody that actually applies and goes through the candidate showcase, you will get the admission to that lunch at no charge. So that's kind of a fun piece of it. And that's where we find out who all the winners are. So it's an exciting day. I've talked enough, so I want to stop there. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Aaron and Connie Zach here. They are the moderators today. They're the owners of Sunlighten Saunas, and they are past Mr. K award winner from maybe 2013. I could be wrong on that. But they're going to help us ask questions of the panelists, and we'll let the panelists introduce themselves. Jeff, I'll start with you.
Great. Hello, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Jeff. I work for Evergy in our marketing department. Evergy is a proud sponsor of this for the last many, many years. So we appreciate all the work you do in our community and glad to be a participant. I was a past judge for a couple of years and excited to kind of share what I found and kind of the experience we had to help you on your applications. So thanks for being here.
Andrew?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm Andrew Dowis. I'm the co-owner and CEO of Pro Athlete. We're an e-commerce company that specializes in the sporting goods, baseball and pickleball mostly. We were the 2020 Mr. K Award winner, and I'm also a previous judge. So feel free to pick my brain. I've kind of seen it from a lot of different angles. So looking forward to helping out today.
And Amber.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. I'm Amber Reed, and I'm the owner of Resolve Counseling and Wellness. We opened in January of 2017, and our mission is reimagining mental health to reduce barriers and improve care. And we currently have 3 locations around the Kansas City area. We were lucky enough to be one of the 2022 top 10 finalists last year, and we learned a ton during the process, and I'm excited to share more about it.
Thank you, Amber. Elena?
Morning, greetings, everyone. My name is Elena Page Thomas, and I'm the owner and founder of the Next Page Talent Agency. We are Kansas City's first female and Black-owned talent agency, and we help creators pursue their dreams by providing resources, opportunities, and training. And we also received the 2021 Equity and Diversity Award, and we are just very grateful to be here and to answer any questions you may have about the application.
Thank you, Elena. Well, thank you all again, all the panelists and all of you for being here. We're going to go ahead and kick it off. And again, Aaron and Connie will start the asking questions of the panelists, and then at the end, we will have time for Q&A.
Good morning, everyone. This is Connie Zach with Sunlighten. Super excited to be here. And this is one of our favorite events of the year in Kansas City for sure. And I won't tell you all the reasons why, but I love it so much. We have been involved with the Chamber and Mr. K for a long time, previous top 10, previous winner. I think it was a couple of years ago, we won the Legacy Award. And then we also won the international award, and I have been a previous judge. So we are here to answer all of your questions. I realized the last time I did this that when we were going through, we didn't have this resource. So we relied on the rumor mill to get all of the questions answered that we had. There's so many rumors about, oh, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do this. So we're going to tell you the real truth about what you're supposed to do. So this is for you all, and I really want to make sure that we take your questions, we answer them, we get you all the information you need to feel good about this process. So before we start with the questions, I want to frame the really most important part, which is in the application that you want to highlight that the judges judge the businesses based on 4 different criteria. So you want to think about those criteria as you're writing your application, and also remember that this award is to honor Mr. K. So kind of always have that as your North Star. The 4 pillars are business growth, financial and staffing, employee relations, community service, and then diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so with all that in mind, we'll get started, and we will totally break all of that down. So don't be intimidated by all of that, especially if you're at the very beginning stages of all of that. If you're a business of 2 people, that's okay. We'll walk you through all of that. Okay. So I'm gonna turn it over to Aaron to get started asking the panelists questions.
Okay, so remember, this is all about you. And so the questions we're going to kind of start on the application process and then walk through. And we're going to try to dig deep to get real. So the first one that we're going to start with is what made you decide to even go about this journey and fill out the application? And Andrew, let's start with you. Don't have your judge hat on, have your application hat on.
You bet. Gosh, so many reasons, why we decided to apply. I think for us, being in sporting goods and mainly in baseball, the draw to the Kaufman family was like right at the forefront for us. That was definitely something we discussed and just felt like it was kind of part of our story. Also, I know our founders at Pro Athlete, they just reminded me of, the Kaufman family and Mr. Kaufman mainly, with all the charitable stuff that they did and the foundation they put in place early on. And it just felt like we were a good fit for this. I think it was also really important for our employees, we get caught up in the day-to-day grind, all of us, owners, employees, and we don't take a step back enough to really appreciate what we've built and, the places that we work. And it was a really fun exercise and good for our employees to go through that and to talk about why this is maybe a good place to work and why the things we do in the community are so impactful and things like that. So not only did we think it would be, good for all the past employees and the founders and stuff like that, I think it was just something good that we felt also that we owed to Kansas City, is what we talked about. We have something kind of unique here at Pro Athlete that maybe not a lot of companies do with the way we do our perks and things like that. And we kind of took it on as kind of a duty that we owed to the city to show them what we were kind of cooking up here in the Northland. And so I think a lot of different fronts, but at the end of the day, I think the most important thing was it was just a really fun process that we knew we wanted to be a part of.
Thank you. That's great. Amber, would you like to share?
Absolutely. So when we started the application last year, I don't think we knew what we were getting ourselves into. We were like, well, we see these 4 pillars and it looks like these are all things that we're already doing. So let's go for it. And I think had we known sort of like the trickle down effect of everything, we would have even like put more time and energy towards it. Not that we didn't, but I think that being that we were a growing company and we were already really, really connected to the community, it just sort of like fit with everything that we were doing. And it was a great opportunity for us to get further integrated in the chamber, which was something that we weren't necessarily doing so much of. And it was just a really cool process. So we were so thankful that we did it.
Hey, Amber, before we move on to somebody else, can you just build on what you mean by trickle down effect?
Oh, yeah. So after the application, there were a ton of different opportunities. The chamber did a phenomenal job of connecting us with people that we needed to be connected with, connecting us with people that we didn't even know we needed to be connected with. Happy hours and meetings, and also for our team internally, it was a really good time to self-reflect and connect. And it was a massive boost for our team from like a pride in work perspective, especially in our field. So I'm in the mental health field. So a lot of what we do is behind closed doors. Everything we do is behind closed doors. And so much of what we do isn't talked about or isn't always celebrated in the community. And it was pretty phenomenal to see how the chamber celebrated us and the city rallied around us and started these conversations. And we really felt like this application process just helped us live out our mission even more, because I've had thousands of conversations in the last year around mental health, and that's exactly what our mission is. So it really was this sort of like cascading thing. We had no idea going into it that was going to be it. It was a phenomenal thing for our business.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Elena, could you share your story?
Certainly. So I believe that part of the reason why we filled out the application was honestly because we just felt that we wanted to continue to make a greater impact here in Kansas City. And so everything regarding our mission and the vision of our business just felt right. And so we wanted to continue not only because we were really new, and as we were scaling up, we also wanted to scale deeper into the community. And so we knew that not only joining the chamber would help that, and then filling out the application really for us wasn't about the accolades. It was really just about the reality and staying true to what we do within our mission. And so with that being said, it wasn't an intimidation factor for us. It was more of, we want to create a greater impact within our business and really scale deep within our community. So what not a better way to join the chamber and then also to fill out that application and become a part of a greater network.
Awesome.
So the next question is still on the application. This is, again, it reminds me of the rumor mill back in the day. Everybody had different thoughts on who's supposed to fill out the application. And are you supposed to hire somebody? Are you supposed to have a consultant? Let's go through that. Let's start with Andrew. And what are your thoughts and what are your tips for who should fill out the application, and anything you have to break it down a little bit better for the audience?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit since we've done it, but we were in the top 10 3 straight years. So or 3 years, not 3 straight years, but so we had a lot of practice doing the application process and probably did a lot of things, wrong in the beginning. But after doing it a couple of times, I think we started with maybe an HR person and myself doing the application. And after the first year, we expanded that, and because we wanted people represented all across the company, so the whole company's voice would be heard throughout the application. So it started with 2, and I think by the 3rd year that we did it, there was probably 10 of us in there kind of collaborating and stuff like that. One kind of tip I would give, we did it all like in Word or Google Docs, just so you kind of could keep it and adjust it, it's just kind of a good little tip to do. So you're not always just having to do it online. And then it also allowed us, when we did it again the next year, we had a kind of a saved version that we could build from. So I highly recommend doing that. But yeah, I think for us, it worked. We didn't hire anybody from the outside because we just didn't think they would know our business as well as we did. So we just tried to get as many people that we thought could, tell their story and bring out the culture of Pro Athlete into the application.
Perfect. Anything different to share from Elena or Amber on filling out the application as far as who should do it, or any other tips?
I would definitely recommend honing in on the founder, the owner, and the staff, even, getting some input from them, because again, I think it has to stay true to everything that you guys are doing internally that the business represents. And so I would definitely wouldn't recommend anyone hiring anyone to necessarily fill it out because it should stay true to your business.
Thanks so much. Amber, anything else from you?
I think one thing that I learned during the process is the chamber really wants to hear your voice and your story. And there's a lot of opportunity to share your voice and your story throughout the process. There's some questions that you can be very analytical about, but there's a lot of questions where you can truly share what the journey looked like and how you're engaged in the community in a really intentional way through story making.
Thank you. Jeff, could you share any tips from a judge's perspective on the application?
Yeah, I totally agree with Amber and Andrew, and it's good to hear their side of it. The storytelling is really important. We're reading a ton of these, and so an application that can capture kind of our minds and lead us through all the questions, but really kind of building on each other and telling the story. And I'm glad Andrew said that he incorporated other people, because there's oftentimes we can tell when an HR person or a random communication person wrote this, and it just doesn't come across like they really know the full business. And so I would encourage you to bring in a couple people, take time with it. A lot of the applications don't get truly fully filled out. And that's an easy way, just putting some time and effort into it really goes a long way and kind of puts you in that top tier kind of automatically. So those are kind of the things that I saw.
And Jeff, just to expand, do you like applications that are very verbose? Do you like that they're like on point and factual? Can you kind of give us some more insights as far as what makes an application really sing?
It's a good question. So as the marketing person in me, I like short and sweet and headlines, and but everyone's a little different. But the big part is that it's telling that story. It's leading me through, helping me understand. There may be a question or a pillar that you're not strong at, but tell me the story why and how you're trying to fix it. That's okay. Not everyone's going to be great in all areas. But I want to know, your thinking and your background and hear from you and bring out the personality of your business. So, there is a lot of them. So someone that's too long can kind of get overwhelming. But if you're focused on that storytelling and bringing your points across, length is less of an issue because I'm engaged in it.
Perfect. So one question I want to dig on the application side is, so we talked about the excitement of filling out, how to fill it out. But one thing that sticks with me that I've heard a lot of is it's kind of a daunting approach, right? You see this application and you're like, okay, I'm also doing payroll. I'm, doing 1,000 different things. How do I have the capacity to even get this done? And, any advice on how to approach or tackle the whole, just getting the application done? And I'll leave that open to either Andrew, Amber, or Elena.
I would suggest take your time. Take your time with it. As Andrew said, I love that he said, save it in Google Doc. We did the exact same thing. We read the questions, we went over it, we processed, we were patient with our answers. So it wasn't a rush job. We really had time to cultivate an honest answer, and to really focus in on that storytelling piece, as they said. I don't feel like the application, because the questions are pretty, it makes you think, the questions really make you think. And I think that is actually a positive thing within your business, because you want to make sure that everything that you're doing aligns. And so I would definitely say, take your time with it. And don't rush it. Don't rush the process.
Awesome.
Can I just chime in really quick? Someone, Sean Lee has just asked about how can a single person business owner stand out in the application process. I just want to make sure that kind of gets addressed throughout, because there are a lot of you out there that are solopreneurs, and you absolutely can be a part of this, and we want you to be a part of it. So don't feel like it's not for you, because it is. I just want to make sure the panelists kind of touch on that a little bit.
Good. Perfect. Thank you, Vicki.
I can just to jump in on there, I never really paid too much of close attention on the number of employees. So if it's 1 or 100, it's the equal in my book. So don't worry that way. And then a suggestion, bring in a friend or a business coach or whatever, just to look over and kind of help you with the application if you can.
Fantastic. Amber, were you about to say something?
I was just going to share during the application process, we tried to come back to it a few different times. So we set specific times, a couple times a week to go back and read back through it and really be sure that's what we were saying was coming across. And so even as we're filling out the application this year, we've done that. We've set a few times each week where we come back to the application, spend an hour on it, make sure it's saying what we want it to say, and giving ourselves opportunities to sort of reflect and look back, as opposed to like filling it out in a single. I don't know how anyone could do it in a single session. It would be really overwhelming, but giving yourself the opportunity to come back to it and reflect has been helpful for us as you're filling it out.
It's fantastic. And I like just to add, it's a great North Star. The application process is really a guidance as far as where your business should be heading. So even if you don't win, going through the process is going to help make your business stronger. And I just think that's a great point to add.
Absolutely. So let's move to the candidate showcase, because this again can, be a little like, oh my gosh, what is that all about? And I mean, I remember when we did, I'm like, oh my goodness, it was kind of like what Amber said at the beginning. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So let's, myth bust some of the stuff and shed some light on the candidate showcase. What I want to do is hear from the participants about their experience, and then also hear from the judges on the things that stood out for them. So first, just, Vicki went through what the candidate showcase is, but I also want to build on the fact that she said, usually we have about 400 attendees. So for those of you who have one, you're yourself, a solo, or you have, 2 people in your business, like this is such a phenomenal opportunity for you to showcase your business and tell your story to 400 people. So I can't stress that enough. Please, consider it, because you just don't get this opportunity in Kansas City. And Kansas City is so supportive of other businesses that you will just be shocked at what an amazing, the ROI is obviously crazy. So anyway, that's my little thing for the showcase. The energy there is just phenomenal. So please go and exhibit. So let's hear from the panelists on your experience. And Amber, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So last year was the first time that we had been to the showcase, didn't really know what to expect. It was incredible. So they hosted it at Union Station last year. And the interesting thing about the showcase is the judges come around and, people are coming to your booth, but you don't necessarily know who the judges are, which is a kind of a cool thing. So you are, introducing your company and getting to talk about what you do, and maybe you have something fun there. I found that the most, because as a business owner, I was able to walk around and see all the other businesses and network and talk and eat great food and hang out. And I found that the most engaging sort of like setups were ones that made you do something there and had people there who were willing to connect with you. So I would encourage you to have a plan around how you're going to connect with people, if that's like handing something out or having a little game or having a spiel that you're already ready to talk about. But it's a great opportunity. It was massive, with I think 60 or 70 businesses set up there, and then all of the people who came. So just have a plan around it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Andrew, any tips for the showcase? And you can talk as a participant and a former judge.
Sure. Yeah, so we did the Union Station version in 17 and 18. And then I think in 20, Vicki, we did it slightly different. I can't remember exactly what we did, but it was all virtual. So I think we're continuing on with the Union Station version. So I'll kind of talk to that. But in 17 and 18, or 17, the first year we did it, it was all about, what is this thing? There's a bunch of booths and a bunch of people. How do you stand out amongst all these, amazing companies? And just like Amber said, the judges are walking around. You have no idea who's a judge, who's not a judge. I highly recommend going, whether you apply for this or not. It's really good to go see. But as far as what you might do for your area, we just wanted to be as genuine and authentic as we could. So we tried to bring like what we do behind the walls here at Pro Athlete out into the forefront and show everybody. So, being a baseball company, we had like a corner spot. We rolled out turf and put a mini baseball field down and like had a big scoreboard that showed like company stats and things like that. So you can go big like that. We sell all over the country, so bringing product wasn't really as like important as it might be to other businesses. So that's what we did kind of those first 2 years. And, it was a lot of fun. We were by a bunch of companies that, were in the running as well. And we learned a ton the first 2 years about how not to do it and stuff like that. So, but ask questions, and talk to the people when they come around, because you never know who the judges might be.
One thing to add on, sorry, Connie.
That's okay.
So just FYI, everybody gets a booth. The table's a 6-foot table. We're going to actually do measurements, but I think it's about 6 foot by 8 feet. And then you've got a couple feet in front of your table to use. Now, what Andrew did, there are 4 corners, which you do have a little bit more space. So not everybody can maybe have the space that those that have the corner booths. If you want a corner booth and you have some big exhibit, you need to get your application in and register for the showcase. It's first come, first serve. So if you've got some big grandiose idea and you want that corner booth, you need to communicate that pretty early to get that coveted spot. So that's just a little FYI, but it's totally everybody else. So if you don't get a corner, it's still going to be great. You can still do a lot with the space that you're given. So don't be concerned about that. And then also, there are going to be companies that are doing something more elaborate than the next company. If it's just you and you're an IT company and you don't really have a lot of flashy things to put out there, just make sure you're really engaging with the folks that are coming by. I suggest having a bowl of candy or some little giveaway just to attract people your way. So don't be intimidated. There is going to be everything under the moon. There's going to be some that are more simple, but just use your personality to tell your story and get out there. So for some of you that are on a more limited budgets, don't feel like you need to break the bank for this. I'm always happy to brainstorm with you. So feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to do that. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, very helpful. Thanks, Vicki. Elena, anything else to share about the showcase as far as tips?
I think they said it all. I think Vicki brought it home with the don't feel intimidated. Don't think about it as a competition. Think about it as a networking opportunity.
Yeah, perfect. Jeff, anything else to share from a judge? Like what was in your head as far as the people that stood out?
Yeah, I mean, we do go to every booth, so the judges will be there. You won't know who we are, but you can probably tell by the questions. They're probably a little different than your average person. And I always tried to find someone who I thought probably wasn't the owner or CEO. And so I wanted to talk to that, that everyday employee who's there and get their side and really engage in what's it like to work there? What does your company do? Kind of almost, I think some people thought I was trying to get a job there because I was really digging into what it's like. So make sure your staff and the people who are with you truly know the company as well.
That's perfect.
Jeff, real quick, do you know who the winner is by the time you're going to the booths, or is that still to be determined?
No, not at all. We haven't even really dug into the applications yet, I don't think, at that point. So it's still fair game, and it's kind of the front door and the entry to your business. It's a fun part of the process.
Awesome.
Hey,
Okay.
Aaron, really quick on that. But I can say from being a judge, a lot of our deliberation, we talked about our experiences interacting with people at the showcase. So keep that in mind. We don't know at that point, really much about any of the companies, but when we got down to the, top 10 and stuff like that, we would reference back to conversations we had there. So it's important.
Fantastic. Great point. All right, the next one's a hard one. Financials. So as an entrepreneur, we keep our financials very tight. I don't like to share it with a lot of people, but part of this application, you have to share it. And so I'd love to hear, Andrew, I want your judge hat on to combine with Jeff. And then Amber and Elena, I'd love to hear from the application side of how you felt. So let's start with Amber and Elena to go on the application side.
Sure. Well, any type of disclosure, I'm a therapist, is a vulnerable thing. Financial disclosure has a lot of other feelings that come up, but I think more than anything, as I was going through this process, it was good to know that like the chamber's not like publishing your information publicly to everyone. It's a very private, they have an external, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vicki, but they have an external agency that does any checks and balances. It's not like Vicki's going to come in and look at your books. Though it's fine, Vicki, if you need to, but, and so it was a good process for us to really sort of like nail things down, look at things, and then put it together. They basically are just verifying it, and it stays private, and it's not anything that is like given out to the community. It's also not like given to your employees. It's nothing that you have to like openly share or talk about with the judges. You will talk about business growth, and sometimes that's from employees or from actual like revenue or profit. But there aren't any like specifics that are outed or stated openly. And so that was really good for me, because I think this is a pretty vulnerable process when you're putting your entire business out there to the community, and you want to be sure that the things that are being shared to the community are the things that you are comfortable with being shared. So that was never, they never overshared or overstepped or any of that when it came to the financials.
Yeah, that's great, Amber. And I'm not sure from the judge's perspective, but from the applicant's perspective, I know it was just about being transparent when I believe that they're looking at business growth, right? We hit a huge pandemic, that was a part of 2020. And I had to be honest about that. We're in the entertainment field. There were theaters, everything was shut down. And so rather than feeling insecure about our numbers, I was open and transparent about that. Because also that was something that happened worldwide, right? That's something that you could not, there are many businesses, every business was affected by that. And so don't feel intimidated by that. It's just transparency. And also I'm sure that, they're going to keep everything private. And then also just remember to, be honest. But again, it's just about the business growth. And I know that the Kansas City Chamber wants that for the business. Like they are rooting for you. So.
Thanks, Elena. All right, Jeff, do you want to hit on the judging side?
Yeah, I agree with both the panelists here, and also agree that the chamber does a great job of keeping that pretty private. They do use an outside firm on a lot of the real detailed stuff. The application has some high-level financials, but the judges aren't really getting too detailed into that part. The outside firm kind of keeps that private. So, but we are looking for growth, and so it's less about the dollar amounts that are being put in and more about the story behind that growth. And I remember one application where the dollar amounts were kind of up and down, and they just told a really good story about, hey, we just bought a company and that changed this, and we had to take out a loan here, and so you just kind of understood where they were coming from and where they were going and what their future was. And that's really where we put our effort and time, less about the exact kind of numbers in the application or the dollar amounts. And so I totally understand that's a hard thing to share. I would say if it's that we do have applicants every year that don't share that info, and it's really hard to kind of get them to the top without it.
Thank you, Jeff. Andrew, would you like to add anything?
I think Jeff covered, especially there with that last point. I was going to kind of throw that out there that it is one of the pillars, and I know it's difficult to maybe submit that information, but it is a pretty important part of the process. So like he said, it's a little more difficult being a judge to get people to the top if they're leaving that information out, because it just knocks out one of the four pillars. So keep that in mind.
That's great.
So the next question, I'd like to focus on what's in it for me? Like if I'm, one of the people here trying to soak it all in, and why should I do this? And what I'd like to, from the panelists is, as you're framing your answers, is while, the winning is amazing, and it's like, that's what, a lot of people want to shoot for. I really want to hear more about just the overall experience and how it's impacted your business, and things that you can think of to share that will, resonate with the people listening. So Elena, let's start with you.
Absolutely. When we first started our business, I was pregnant. I remember I was on stage pregnant, accepting my award. And the moment that I walked into the room, I'll just be honest, being a part of such an amazing community really broadened our networks, just even being at the small business celebration luncheon. That day that we won that award, there were so many amazing opportunities that were awarded to us after that. It was just amazing. Honestly, we got a write up in Forbes. Our business really took off after that. And I would say it was just a really pivotal moment, being a part of it. And so it wasn't even, like I said, we try not to focus on the accolades, and we try to just, focus in onto everything that we're doing and the impact that we're creating. And so just from that, I will say, it really helped us continue to scale up really quickly within our business, especially regarding the networks. I remember Charlie Hustle actually spoke at that one. And one thing that he said that stuck out was so true. It said, life is less about what you get out of it, but it is more about what you leave in this life. And so I took that in, and he had an amazing speech, by the way. And, it really resonated to me in that moment. And then ever since that, I even had a meeting with him directly afterwards. But again, the connections that we were able to take from that experience were unbelievable.
Perfect. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Amber?
Yeah, I think for us, when you think about the what's in it for me question, for us, it was twofold. So I mentioned earlier, internally from an employee and just morale perspective, all of my staff and therapists were just so energized and proud that the whole city was thinking that we were an awesome business. And it was phenomenal for our employee morale, and to be seen as a mental health agency and to be celebrated was incredible. So I think there was a lot of pride and positivity internally. That was amazing. And then from a business perspective, just name and brand recognition, people coming up to me and saying, I saw you here, I saw you here, I saw Resolve doing this. It continues to happen. And it gets a lot of momentum and connections, places that you may have had no idea that you wanted to be connected with. And it really plugs you into the city. I think that's the cool thing. Like when you look at all of the people that are applying, you want to talk about totally different industries, entirely different models. You get exposed to so many other business owners and really connected in the community. So there is a ton in it, both for the internal culture of your business and for the external growth of your company.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, anything else to share from your experience?
Yeah, very similar to Amber. I think biggest value to us was just our employees getting, I guess, a validation that, the city thinks the place you work's pretty cool too. And, sometimes you need a little reminder because the day-to-day grind, can get you sometimes. And I think it's just a really, really valuable exercise to go through, regardless of winning. That's not the important thing. Like what you learn, and Aaron talked about how you can, be working towards this new version of your business with the criteria that they put out. I think it's a really good guidepost, to follow. And I don't know, for us, 2020, was a tough year for everyone. And that was the year we won not a lot of good was happening in 2020. That was one thing that we can look back on and say, hey, that actually was an okay thing that happened that year. So it kind of energized our employee base.
On this question, one quick poke that if you haven't experienced, but when we went through the process, some of our closest friendships have come out of it. Like Tucker Trotter, for example, I still get lunch with today, and once a month. So anything along those lines where it's with a top 10 or a business that you met through the showcase that you create a friendship, and in business is all about connections and networking and relationships. Anything you'd like to share for the group, because it's so much bigger than just winning. And I'd just like to have one final vote before we go to questions.
I'll go. I think that connections, definitely, I agree with you, Zach, goes beyond the network. It's definitely about the relationships. I would just say again, over at the Kansas City Chamber, we just hosted the neighborhood networking event, and just Brandon and Vicky are always so amazing to work with, their staff and their team over there. But the other individuals that they were able to connect me to, I have formed a really amazing relationships with, not just, hey, a transactional relationship. No, it's a true relationship that now has able to truly help our business. And the other thing that I was going to ask is that I was also able to learn from other businesses, and so that was another thing that really stood out with this process. Rather it was the showcase, rather it was the actual awards. Even seeing who won, I was able to, hey, go up and congratulations. Could we have lunch? Because you also take that time to also learn from other businesses and connect with them and support them as well. So I think that was one thing that greatly stood out when you talk about relationships as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anything else that hasn't been said before we move on to questions on the relationships aspect? Because I echo exactly what Aaron said. It's so valuable. Beyond, you can't even put a price to the networking relationships. No. Brandon, do we have questions?
So far, all the questions looks like they've been answered in the chat, but if anyone in the room has a question, feel free to raise your hand. If you don't know how, you go down to reactions at the bottom, click on that, and there'll be a raise hand button, and we'll call on you to get your questions answered.
Our panelists would love to talk about macroeconomics, some really deep level stuff.
While we're waiting for any additional questions to come in, I just want to give a couple tips while you're completing the application that will be helpful. And Andrew, I think, touched on one of them, but it is an online application. What you will want to do is make sure you're using always the same device. Like if you're not finishing it and going back, you need to go back to the same device that you started with, and also the same browser. So if you think you're going to start on your laptop and do some of it on your phone, don't do that. You won't be able to go back to where you left off. So again, same device, same browser, and highly recommend what Andrew had pointed out, and completing the application in a Word doc. That way, for security, you've got that. Sometimes there's glitches, so you'll have that and just cut and paste that into the online application. I think I think those were the main tips. If I have any other thoughts, I'll let you know. But and feel free, of course, after this, if anybody wants to set up some time to chat with me, I'm happy to do that anytime between now and the showcase, and even after. And I'm sure our panelists, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I'm sure if anybody wanted to speak on a phone conversation with any of them, I'm sure they would give it a little bit of their time to help you. Was that okay that I said that, guys? Yeah, okay, great. Are there any other questions?
I have one more that came up before that I thought was really great. Is if you are, and I thought I saw somebody on here that I recognized, from the past, if you are applying again, so you've applied before and you're applying again, do you have any tip from the panelists, any tips on, okay, should I just take the same application and do it again? Like what are your thoughts and tips for those individuals? That was a robust conversation before. And it could be from anybody. It can be from a judge's perspective or a participant. I mean, I know, Andrew, that you guys did it 3 times. Amber, last year was your first, correct? And so you guys, the previous judges can answer like their kind of insights of, you've maybe seen the same business come through and, anything that you would give as a tip on the second time around.
Andrew's probably the expert here, doing it 3 years, but I'll start. One, the judges do kind of rotate in and out, so it's not the same group every time. So for some of the judges, at least, it's going to be your first time. So keep that in mind. And then less on the application, but when I think of last year's winner, Chicken and Pickle, on their site visit, the next time we came out, after the first time that I was part of it, that they didn't win, they totally regrouped and rechanged their approach. And it really paid off for them. They brought in some different people. They kind of changed a few things, and that really resonated with me. It's like they sat down and kind of went through the process. What were our strengths? What could we work on? And really came at it a different way the next time. And so I appreciated that. I got to see a different side of the business than the first year. And so you may think of that. Also, I know a couple of the businesses, Charlie Hustle, I think Pro Athlete also took a year off in between applications to kind of regroup as well. That may be a strategy to take. But Andrew probably has more thoughts on that one.
Yeah. So we did 17 and 18, took 19 off, and then tried it again in 2020. For us, I think we were pretty strong on all the pillars except the growth pillar. We'd kind of plateaued as a business, and we were just kind of flat for a couple of years. And looking back, I don't think we did a good job of what Jeff mentioned earlier, and like telling the story about why. And for us, it was Amazon. That's a pretty good story if you tell it right. That's a pretty big competitor, but we didn't do a good job in 17 of explaining why we were flat. So yeah, I think if you do it a couple times and you're not getting where you want to be, you might take a step back and look at it, but definitely add context, to those things. If you're not having like a hockey stick growth, explain why, in the area where you can add context to it. So
I love that. That's perfect build. And I wanted to build one more thing on that because I just love it so much. It's so important. It is 100% okay on your application to say, I'm aware that, that we're not where we want to be in this category. Like that is 100% fine. And then just tell the story of, where you are, and you can go talk about where you want to be and how you plan to get there. That is one of my favorite things is when people are just are honest and to Amber's kind of mental health piece, kind of being vulnerable and sharing. I know it's hard and it's difficult, but this is your chance to tell your story and have a lot of people, be aware of your business. And so you have a great opportunity. The chamber is so supportive, and so are all the other businesses. So
I would also like to add in the year that we put in our application, we had not got our brick and mortar yet. And so now we're filling out the application this year and we have our brick and mortar. And so there were a lot of differences within the application that we're going to fill out this year, which also, as to Amber's point, I had to be vulnerable within that first application and really sell our story to say, hey, this is our business plan and this is where we're headed. Right. And so now I'm sure that people can see, oh, okay, wow. and they were true to their word. And now we've just opened up our 8,200 square foot brick and mortar. And so now when I fill out the application, when my staff and I fill out the application this year, it's going to look a lot different. And we're going to be able to answer some of those questions in a more transparent way. And maybe our numbers won't be there, but regardless, I think the biggest takeaway for me is to be fearless. Be fearless and remember the power of you and your business, because your business is unique to you, and the validation is just going to increase that visibility. And as Vicki just said, the emerging businesses, it's going to create such an amazing visibility to everything that you're offering to this great community.
Perfect. That was awesome. Any final of that message from Andrew, Amber, Jeff, as far as any final tips to as they consider filling out the application and going through this process?
We're good.
Yeah, just enjoy it. It's fun and valuable, so enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that is for sure. It's a really, really fun process. You will learn a lot. So even if you don't happen to win any awards this year, it'll be a good opportunity to self-reflect, have fun. I put in the chat there about the emerging businesses. I think we probably have a bunch of you on here, the under 3 years or under. So if you've just started your business 6 months ago or 3 months ago, doesn't matter. This is a great, great opportunity to put yourself out there, meet people, have fun. So do not be intimidated by the larger companies that maybe have 100 employees. This is all for you, and we want you all part of it. So I wanted to make sure to let you know that. With no further ado, I think we will conclude. I want to thank all of the panelists, and Aaron and Connie, thank you again for coming back again. And thank you all for being here. Happy to answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. Hopefully you've got my contact info. I can drop my email in here really quick. And other than that, just have fun with it. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. So thank you.